Hey, you got Stitcher? Well, we're on it, so get it! Southsider Studios now on Stitcher. Stitcher is an award-winning provider of news and talk radio for your mobile phone. Stitcher Smart Radio, the smarter way to listen to radio.
Howdy, this is Mike from Nerds of Babylon, and you're listening to the Southsider Studios podcasting system. For more great podcast programming, visit southsiderstudios.com or search Southsider Studios on iTunes.
Cinesmack contains spoilers of the spoiling type. If you don't want your spoilers spoiled, please turn back now. Otherwise, enjoy the show!
Hello, Cinesmacketeers, and welcome back to Cinesmack. This will be fight number 22 tonight. I'm your host, Mike Keeler, and joining me, as usual, is my group of filmmaking friends, Mr. Tom Haggis.
You think I want to blow my Wednesday night on a scene like this?
Nice. Mr. Gabriel Rotwald.
All right.
I'll let it go.
Hey, everybody. How's it going? Yeah, that's much better. I'll go with that.
All right. And Gabe Rowald.
Well, there goes our explicit tag.
Oh, yeah. I thought I was being a zombie, but that could have been mistaken for something else.
The zombies are coming. The zombies are coming.
Sam Twomey.
I mean, praying's for church. But hey, everybody.
And our special guest, and apparently our October guest from now on, Mr. Tosh Dillinger.
Last time I was on Cinesmack, I wore a William Shatner mask through the podcast, and I've taken off my Shatner mask, and I've crawled into my plant pod, and I will be bordering it up to save me from the zombies.
Fantastic.
No, that's a big pod. That's a big pod.
My Wi-Fi is amazing in the plant pod, though.
Has it got Bluetooth?
We're working on it. We're working
Okay.
on it.
Nice. All right. Well, tonight we will be taking Night of the Living Dead up against Invasion of the Body Snatchers. If you couldn't get the hint from everyone's intro, so let's kick it off, and we'll hand it over to the monkey.
Ladies and gentlemen, ghouls and pod people, welcome to the main event. Tonight, it's a smackdown of black and white horror film titan. In the first corner, released in 1968, directed by George A. Romero, starring Dwayne Jones, Judith O'Dea, and Carl Hardman, Night of the Living Dead. In the second corner, released in 1956, directed by Don Siegel, starring Kevin McCarthy, Dana Winter, and Larry Gates, Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
All right. Let's get this show on the road. Let's start off with writing. And take it, Sam.
All right. Writing. Man. Both of these screenplays tell a story in a very different way. In Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1956, we find out very close to the beginning that we're going to be told most of this tale in a flashback. So we know that the narrator most likely is going to survive. And, he kind of lays out a tale with lots of narration that kind of sets the scene. And in Body Snatchers, I'm really kind of taken by how quickly elements are put into the story. So we're starting to find out right away from, the little kid, running in the street, that things just aren't quite right there in that city. Night of the Living Dead, it kind of reveals a lot of its plot points slowly throughout the piece. And Night of the Living Dead, in a way, unlike Invasion of the Body Snatchers, which kind of plays out as this really large story that has these large settings and lots of people and entire cities, whereas Night of the Living Dead is a lot more intimate, and it's very specific, small amount of locations, and it builds the story through snippets of how people would normally get their news at that time, which was radio and television. And that's where a lot of the big plot points come from, some of that information from those news broadcasts. So two totally different styles. It's funny, some of the because these films were made a long time ago, some of their dialogue will strike a lot of modern audiences as funny, but I thought there was a great line in Invasion of the Body Snatchers when he's talking about, she asked the doctor, is this an example of your bedside manner? And he said something like, no, that comes later. I don't remember exactly what he says, but it's very suggestive and hilarious in that way. There's not a lot of hilarity in Night of the Living Dead, but some of the characterizations, like the Henry Cooper, his character is so hateful. It's just dripping from him, and in a way to see him kind of get his at the end. There were some surprising directions that Night of the Living Dead went. I think Invasion of the Body Snatchers was pretty straightforward. Night of the Living Dead examined some of the deeper aspects of those characters. Why does the lead character actually shoot and kill one of his fellow persons that's trying to survive? I think that's a very shocking decision as a writer, and I'm sure audiences were very shocked in their sensibilities at that time. So I think for writing, I'm going to have to go with Night of the Living Dead. In a way, a lot of these characters seem familiar to us now, as far as the modern zombie or ghouls, as George Romero referred to them. But there are some really funny pieces of dialogue for, like, the chief, when he's talking about the zombies. They're asking him if they're slow, and he's basically says something like they're dead. They're all messed up. Like, that's realism. That's realism.
Right.
So I'm going to go with Night of the Living Dead.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Gabe, you're up.
Yeah, this should be an interesting show. It'll be interesting to see which of these two people liked the most. I had seen Night of the Living Dead once some time ago, and frankly, I'm not sure I watched very closely. Because I definitely remembered parts of it. There were definitely memorable parts of it, but I had never actually seen this original version of Invasion of the Body Snatchers. So this was kind of a new experience, an interesting experience, and I ended up actually liking it and respecting it a lot more than liking it and respecting it a lot more than I expected to. The interesting thing to me is that it's very kind of film noirish. It's a little bit maybe past that the time period for that genre. It's probably right on the back end of that particular time period, but it still had very, very kind of film noirish elements to it, especially what Sam mentioned, how it started out. It starts out basically at the end of the movie, and then through the main characters' flashbacks, we get the entire story. And that's a very kind of noirish concept. And obviously it also happens to be in black and white. The writing, on one hand, the writing is very concise, and it's very well done. But like, I agree with Sam, some of the dialogue nowadays may seem a little bit kind of dated or campy or just flat out kind of funny to us, because we wouldn't speak like that anymore these days. But it was really very concise and well written. Now, Night of the Living Dead, Sam was right in that it makes some shocking choices, but I think overall it's not as well written. The dialogue isn't as compelling to me. It isn't It's goofy and campy, but not nearly as interesting as Invasion. And I just don't think the character development is as good. Well, what's the main girl's name? Barbara or whatever.
Barbara.
Yeah.
Barbara.
Why is she even in the movie? I mean, she's just in there to, I don't know, for her brother to come back and get her or something. Because, that character is pretty much pointless in the movie. So I didn't understand why she was in it. I mean, all the other characters had important parts in the storytelling, but she was just kind of there. I mean, I don't know.
She was in shock. She was kind of like numb, like,
right.
some of
she was more of a zombie than the actual zombies. So I didn't quite get that, and I felt like that was maybe a shortcoming in the writing a little bit. That being said, I really do think they made some shocking choices where the human characters, one of them shoots the other, and then spoiler alert, the main character actually gets killed at the end, and that's unheard of.
What?
Generally speaking, I know. Generally speaking, audiences don't like that kind of thing. So that was a really kind of bold choice, and so I respect that part of it. But I think in the end, I really feel like Invasion of the Body Snatchers was much stronger writing. So Invasion gets my vote.
All right. Thanks, Gabe. Tom.
One of the things that I'm always fascinated by, and us all being filmmakers, that seeing how when filmmakers get started, that they're kind of drawn to the zombie genre or subgenre, I guess, of horror. Yeah. And it seems like you can't swing, a cat in a room full of filmmakers without hitting somebody that's worked on a zombie film. And watching Night of the Living Dead, I was trying to figure out why that is. And I don't know if it's because there's something to be said with the low budgetness of zombie films, that they seem to be a little bit easier to produce in terms of production values, or is it that fear is such a primal, basic emotion in humans that it's a lot easier to manipulate, but hard to say. And so I don't know. I don't know what this is. And if I can just kind of side off a little bit, and have you guys had any thought about like why filmmakers, like when they get started, they go into like they got to do the zombie film? It's kind of like filmmaker breaking their cherry on what's with the zombie films and why they're so popular so early on.
Horror is cheap to make, and it usually makes money.
Yeah. And let's face it, I mean, I've worked on a zombie film. I mean, it never was released, but it was just a lot of fun. A lot of fun to, I don't know, just build suspense. Call your friends up. Hey, you want to be a zombie? Sure. All right. I'll throw some makeup on you and you're good to go. You get to, it's, I don't know. It comes down to the basic instincts in people to try and survive. And what's worse than the dead coming back to life? And there's no real easy way to take them down. I mean, you could shoot a guy and he'll go down, but if you shoot a zombie, it's still going to just keep coming at you. And to me, the scariest thing aren't even the running zombies that they have now. It's the slow moving mass of dead things just constantly moving towards you. Like there's just something about that.
Well, and in the writing of this, of Night of the Living Dead, all of that was new. It wasn't folklore. It was all new. Like the audience didn't know until they were halfway through officially that you had to shoot him in the head, or,
right.
If the bite would cause it like they thought it. But, that's something to be said that, those characters now live in so many different incarnations.
That's true.
To this day.
And that was the great job, Sam. That was actually my big note, is that Night of the Living Dead gets a lot of credit for writing the zombie rules that are just inherently passed from zombie movie to zombie movie. And directors like Danny Boyle, for example, they play with the rules a little bit, and
right.
And that kind of thing. And that they're free to do that, but the basis for those rules and manipulating the fear is still there. I'd like to give a lot of credit to Invasion of the Body Snatchers with the way that it was produced under a McCarthy America and the political message that may or may not be there, depending on who you talk to. We'll talk about that more with directing. But as for the writing, I'm going to give it to Night of the Living Dead because I don't think I can name a movie that was done in the way that Night of the Living Dead that is so influential to so many filmmakers, even whether or not you've seen it. Right. When you see a zombie, it all goes back to George Romero and what he did, in 1968.
All right, thank you, Tom. Tosh,
thank you.
First thing, I would tell everyone that I'm a big Twilight Zone TV fan, and so I have some kind of bias toward Body Snatchers. I know it predated Twilight Zone, but just keep that in mind. And also, I am a big fan of I Am Legend, which I'll touch on in a second. First, I'll start with Body Snatchers. I felt like you cared about the Body Snatcher cast and the people that were in the story. I didn't really have that feeling with Night of the Living Dead so much. I don't know, it's just because of their actions or whatnot, but I actually cared for Miles, our doctor. And Body Snatchers, I appreciated that this has already been touched on, that they told the story from the end. I'm a big fan of stories being told out of order. If anyone knows me, I always want to tell a story out of order because I'm just goofy that way. And watching Body Snatchers, I was like, man, this is like a really long Twilight Zone episode. It just felt like that to me. I mean, it was in black and white, like most of the old Twilight Zone were in, and it just felt like that. And so I really enjoyed that. Some funny things about the Body Snatcher script. I thought it was kind of funny that that Dr. Miles and his supporting cast kept calling him Doctor like 30 or 40 times at the very beginning of the film. I kept thinking that it was like a scene from Spies Like Us. They go, Doctor,
Doctor,
Doctor, Doctor, Doctor,
Doctor,
Doctor,
Doctor.
I'm serious. If you go back and watch it, like that first 20 minutes, everyone in the street saying doctor, or he's saying, well, I'm a doctor. I'm like, okay, we get it. You're a doctor. I also love the line that he uses while they're driving the car with, I think her name was Betsy, the lead actress. I think it might be the greatest pickup line ever. I know a bank where the wild time blows. I'm like, that is awesome. I'm going to try to use that on my wife tonight. Hey, honey, you look great. I know a bank where the wild time blows. It will so be on. Okay, side note, my wife would not fall for that at all. Night of the Living Dead, I kind of have a problem with the script, and spoiler alert, I watched this with Gabe, so we were kind of talking about it back and forth. I felt like it ripped off I Am Legend, the book. And I'll give you some examples. Zombies are scared of light, okay? Uh-huh. And in I Am Legend, the vampires are scared of light. In Night of the Living Dead, they try to survive in a boarded house. And in I Am Legend, the main hero tries to survive in a boarded house. Though in I Am Legend, I don't recall the hero punching a woman to knock her out because she was annoying, but, whatever. So I Google searched actually that connection, and our director actually said that he pretty much did use that as a basis for the whole movie. So
I see.
I kind of felt cheapened by that a little bit. So I'm going to have to give writing to Body Snatchers just because of that fact that it's kind of ripped off from I Am Legend.
All right.
By the way, I just wanted to mention that line, I know a bank where the wild time blows. I'm sorry.
Shakespeare.
Is actually Shakespeare, yeah.
Yep. I looked that up too.
Yeah. Oh. I knew that. I memorized that. No, I'm kidding. I looked it up. But I was curious. I thought maybe...
It was really weird because he got dressed in a Shakespeare outfit and started doing... Right. It was really weird.
Gabe uses that line every time he walks into a McDonald's.
Well, one line that I quote all the time, and I get great joy, comes 6 minutes into Night of the Living Dead when he's like, they're coming to get you, Barbara. They're coming for you. Like, I love that. I could not get enough of that.
Yeah. Yep. While writing the script, George A. Romero and John A. Russo were trying to think of a manner in which to destroy the zombies. Like you guys said, they were basically inventing a genre. Marilyn Eastman joked that they could throw pies in their faces. This is obviously an inspiration for the pie fight scene in the film's sequel, Dawn of the Dead. And Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Throughout the years, I'm pretty sure you guys know who this guy is, but Sam Peckinpah appears briefly in the film as a meter reader, claimed that he had done work on the script ranging from modifications to major overhauls. Those who worked on the film claimed that if Peckinpah had made any changes to the script, it was limited to a few lines of dialogue. Peckinpah's claims became so inflated that the actual writer, Daniel Mainwaring, probably just screwed that all up, threatened to file an official complaint with the Writers Guild of America, so Peckinpah backed down. When Peckinpah died in 1984, many of his obituaries still carried the claim that he had rewritten the screenplay for this film. I didn't even know he was in it, to be honest. So yeah, there you go.
I'd seen his name on IMDb, but I didn't realize that was the character that is the meter reader down in the basement.
Sam Peckinpah. All right.
Oh no. Yeah.
What?
No, where is he? Where does he show up?
It just says that he's briefly in the film as the meter reader.
Because they hear a noise downstairs, and it's like, oh, it's just the gas man.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yep.
I guess I didn't realize that was his character. Yeah.
Yes, sirree. Let's go ahead and we'll move on to acting. And we'll start with Gabe.
This will be an interesting one, too. And again, because of the time period that these movies were made, it seems like, to modern audiences, all of the acting and all of them might be a little bit kind of campy, for lack of a better word.
Right.
And but I think in my mind, it's pretty clear cut as far as the actual acting is concerned. Which film is clearly better? Well, so I'll just keep this one pretty short. I don't even think I need to go into a lot of examples, but I think Invasion of the Body Snatchers is clearly filled with better acting. I don't know that it's great acting, but if we compare the two, Night of the Living Dead, there are sequences where the acting's really just not that great. Although, but both Tosh and I remarked that we liked the lead actor in Night of the Living Dead. What's his name?
Ben? Or
Dwayne Jones.
Dwayne,
yeah. Well, I thought he did a pretty good job in it overall. Although at times I felt like maybe, I don't know this, and I don't know, maybe there's something in his bio that would tell me, but I felt at times like maybe he had come from the stage. Like he had started out as a stage actor, because his delivery in the film seemed very much like that to me. But I liked him. He was pretty believable as that character, and I thought he was charismatic and fun to watch. But overall, I thought the acting was kind of over the top and really not that good in Night of the Living Dead. Invasion of the Body Snatchers, though, had professional actors who were very believable, and like Tosh had mentioned earlier, made their characters likable. We did end up caring about what happened to these characters. We didn't want to see any of these characters fall victim to these alien pods from outer space.
Right.
And so I thought some of it was a little bit campy, a little bit over the top. Some of the lines were kind of cheesy, but overall, I think they did a really good job with it. So I think it's pretty easy for me to give my vote to Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
All right, and you are right. He was a former English professor who directed at the McGuire Theater at the Old Westbury campus of New York State University. And he additionally served as artistic director at the Richard Allen Center in New York City. So,
his first monologue had very much a feel of like theater to me. I enjoyed it. I thought it was well done, but I felt like he was acting to an audience and not to a camera, if you know what I mean.
Right.
That's not necessarily bad. I just felt like that's maybe what
that's just how you read it.
It's performance, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Tom.
Spot on, Gabe. Spot on. You took all of my talking points. So,
sorry.
So just to rehash, in case anybody you tuned out when Gabe was talking, 'cause I know some of you do.
What was that? What was that? Who said that?
Yeah, Dwayne Jones was really the highlight of, an otherwise pretty weak acting, and I don't know. This might be the category that swings it one way or the other, but I'm going to go to Invasion of the Body Snatchers 2. Because
I thought we were doing the first film.
See, I left that open. Good job.
But
Invasion of the Body Snatchers as well, and but you're right. Dwayne Jones was really, really great, and I was reading that there's obviously it's being shot in 1968, and there was some problems, that came up with a black man striking a white woman in the film, and Dwayne Jones was very concerned about that. Mm-hmm. And George A. Romero said that never even really crossed his mind. They had written the script and gotten everybody together, and they gave the role to Dwayne because he was the best actor among their friends. And I thought that was really interesting. I'm stalling because I really have nothing else to say about acting because that asshole Gabe took everything I was going to say. So
that's going to be bleeped out.
Yeah.
Oh boy. Yeah, we just went from G to R rating.
PG-13, you get one.
I wasn't the one that opened the show with moaning. I just want to point that out.
That's
yeah,
true.
and I've been pretty good so far
NC-17.
too. So.
Yeah. If Harvey Firestein shows up, we are in big trouble. If you have children in the room, we recommend our previous episode where we talked about Orgasmo. So anyway, I think acting goes to Invasion of the Body Snatchers because it was much more solid acting, and it didn't rely so much on so many cliches. So there you go.
All right, thanks, Tom. Tosh.
Yeah, you guys pretty much stole everything too. On Night of the Living Dead, though, I'm going to give them kind of a free pass on that because it was a low-budget film, and we kind of talked about earlier, making a zombie movie, you get your friends and family involved. And I think there was some of that going on with this film, is, he didn't have money, so he just got what he could, and he kind of just had to deal with it. And that probably hurt the product overall for acting, but, I mean, he made it work. Body Snatchers, they got to kind of play two characters. Majority of the people that were acting, they got to play, the happy, normal person, and got to play the, somewhat emotionless, alien, pod clone, whatever you want to call it. Yeah, they don't really, But I'm gonna go with Body Snatchers for my vote as well. But I'm not gonna rip Night of the Living Dead apart. I mean, Barbara was terrible, but I mean. We already established that.
All right. Thanks, Tosh.
You bet.
Sam.
Well, one thing I've never been sure about when Ben strikes Barbara, it looks like she doesn't get knocked out from the punch, but she kind of faints after he does it. Like that's how I always read that. But
dude, he still hits her.
Right, but yeah, she looks at him and then passes out after that. Like he's punch, he grabs her, she's conscious, looks at him, and then faints.
Tom, Tom, what Sam is trying to say is he didn't knock the bitch out. He just hit her.
Well, he did knock the bitch around a little bit, but I don't know. I mean, that is jarring. Like that character does take things out with his fists. Like he does the same thing to Cooper later, and the gun is a surprise. Like in those survival situations, you always think you keep the people alive, and then he just gets to a point where he's pissed. He's like, "Fuck this, I'm killing you," and he just shoots him. Like it's like he's a hothead. He's definitely a hothead. So, and acting, yeah, you guys have said pretty much everything. Like,
so it's turned into Senate agree.
Yeah, well, it's hard to make a case for some of the acting in Night of the Living Dead because the pace of the movie keeps you going. There's not as much dialogue in the beginning, and then when we get to the middle, one of the notes I had on acting was, the acting is harder in the middle to keep the story moving forward. Like when you see the young couple talking about, her smile and she's worried about her parents, like that just really dips below an acceptable level at that point. Like it's just like you instead of all the other action stuff that's going on, you kind of are forced to focus on that. They're having that moment, and it's not as good. Body Snatchers had so many more resources available to it as a production, and the acting was top notch, even in the very smallest of parts. They played it exactly how. Just a little bit bigger than normal, but not to an absurd range. And you could tell that their characters really were vested in that story, that the Doctor really, to see that progression from the craziness. And even though you saw him in the beginning as crazy and you knew he was going to be all amped up, but, to see his demeanor change, I'm going to have to give it to Body Snatchers on the acting as well.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Where's my notes? Oh, there they are. Gig Young, Dick Powell, Joseph Cotton, and Richard Kiley were all considered for the role of Dr. Miles Bennell. Doctor. Anne Bancroft, Donna Reed, Kim Hunter, and Vera Miles were all considered for the role of Becky Driscoll in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And I just have to say that thanks to our last December's episode, It's a Wonderful Life, I fell in love with Donna Reed. And yeah, I could see her in that role. I think it would have been pretty good. In Night of the Living Dead, it's funny you guys bring up Dwayne Jones because he stands apart from a lot of the actors. And the character of Ben was originally supposed to be a crude but resourceful truck driver with no specification to race. After Dwayne Jones, in real life, a self-serious academic, auditioned for the part, director and co-writer George Romero rewrote the part to fit his performance. Let's move on to directing, and let's smack it up, boys. Dom, you start us off.
First of all, the other three guys, you are all stupid. Sorry, I'm not feeling like smack. That's my smack talk.
All right, thank you.
George, I go back again to the Romero's directing, and it's so cute to see these these devices. Before they became they became all grown up and the overused cliches that they are today.
Right.
Who's an overused cliche? You are, you big boy. And it was so much fun to go back and watch it again. And I'll be honest, when I came into this, I really thought I was just I love Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and it's one of my favorite classic films. And I really thought that it was going to sweep all four of my choices. And obviously it hasn't, because I already gave Night of the Living Dead one of my picks. So that being said, I think what I really like about the directing in Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and the producer and the director have said repeatedly that they didn't plan on there being any kind of political allegory buried in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. And it's gone back and forth where people said, no, they produced this film and the pods are actually communists that are coming into America. Right. And they had to do that because they were working on the production code. And then other people said, no, it's actually the other way around. The pods are McCarthyism. And what happens when we ignore McCarthyism and we all become, glassy-eyed zombies who, that all agree and are homogenous. And you can go back and forth, and I don't think it really takes away from the movie one way or the other. You kind of pick on it, and the director and the producer have said that none of that stuff is there. They just made a scary movie and that kind of thing, and pop culture and society and politics at the time actually kind of projected themselves onto the film rather than the other way around. And I don't believe any of that for a second. I honestly believe that they knew what they were doing. It's really great to watch the films of the 40s and 50s and see. I mean, they knew what they were doing in terms of the censorship that was going on at the time, and I think that's one of the reasons why it's such a great age of films is that the writers and the directors, they knew that their hands were tied and they needed to find these creative ways to tell stories and get their message across. And Walter Murch, the producer, he has an autobiography where he specifically came out and said that In fact, the name of the book is his autobiography is I Thought We Were Making Movies, Not History. As being in a director role and a producer role, it would not surprise me in the least if the producer did not know what was going on artistically with the film.
Right.
That's what producers do. The director probably has a better idea of that. So in terms of the directing, I'm going to give it to Invasion of the Body Snatchers because I think it's a much, much deeper film. And, 2 weeks out from a presidential election, I can't believe we got a political film on CineSmack. I'm so excited. So it's not going past you. With Night of the Living Dead, with all due respect to George A. Romero and all of the stuff that people have ripped off of him in the last 40 years, I give it to Invasion of the Body Snatchers because there's a lot to this film, and it's a pretty deep film. And I've been talking for 25 minutes. Okay, somebody else.
Right. Thanks, Tom.
No problem.
Tosh.
Before Tosh starts, I just want to ask a quick question regarding some of Tom's comments. Do we know if those the political theories about the movie were those were people saying those things at the time that the movie came out, or were those things being said much later after kind of McCarthyism had passed and we could have a 2020 view of that kind Do you know?
You're walking all over the moderator there, Mr.
Sorry. Sorry.
Oh no, that's fine. I'll just
you should run for president. You'd do very well. Yeah. It's in my experience, and I have to know that like my scholarly history with Invasion of the Body Snatchers, like 15 years removed from like a film school class, and it was explained to me in that class that at the time they sold this as a political propaganda to help fight people against to help people, what's the word I'm looking for? Recruit people against the Red Scare. And that the pods it was publicly explained that the pods are communists and we're trying to stop the communists. And then once we were removed from it, people looked back on it and said that it didn't line up with what the filmmakers and the artists behind it believed. And that's what made people kind of switch and went, maybe it's not about communism, maybe it's about McCarthyism.
Mm-hmm.
That's my, and again, there's 15 years and a lot of alcohol and baby making between me and that class. So
it's important to point out, though, and Tom, you even said this at some point, that most of the filmmakers say that there wasn't anything there. And there was an interview with Kevin McCarthy on, asking that very question on this DVD that I watched. And, most of the cast that when they're asked, and even the writer himself claims, was it Jack Finney is one of the main writers on that. Like they claim that there was never that there. There was just, and whether I don't know why they would still, after all these years, not cop to that fact.
If my career was, the best years of my career were brought up under that kind of fear that I could lose my job and get blacklisted and be called a communist and never work in Hollywood again. And there's people that still to this day are feeling the effects of what happened under Joseph McCarthy. We saw just a couple of years ago when Elia Kazan was at the Oscars, and there were people that refused to stand up and clap for him despite his really great canon of work. So I don't know. I don't think it would really be all that implausible for people to this day to still stick to what they believed in 1956.
Mm. Well, it's definitely an interesting, there is so much. Well, I'm taking away from someone's time. Who is it?
Oh, it's just Tosh.
I'll just go right into my segment then.
I have my pick ready. Can we go to that?
Well, I just want to say I feel both of these films are somewhat political. We all know Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but look at Night of the Living Dead. To be honest, why is Honey Boo Boo a TV show? And it's just like, there are so many zombies out there that just sit in front of the TV and watch anything. There's some TV shows I'm like, why does this even exist? Jersey Shore, The Kardashians, any of that. Like, I don't know. To me, it just seems... It seems kind of political in a way that, people just need to wake up, I guess. But maybe that's just me.
No, I think there's a good point to say about the the atrophy of our brains when we watch shows like that. And I think it was interesting that the invasion, your body was snatched when you fell asleep, and
Right.
The Night of the Living Dead, it came from this radiation from outer space, from the unknown, and that's essentially what TV signals were.
Right.
So
Yeah.
that's a good point. I'm changing all my votes.
I knew I would sway you.
I'm not really changing all my votes. I'm just trying to be funny.
All right, Tosh, go ahead.
All right.
And thank you, Tosh. Moving on to Sam.
Great.
Well, yeah, good point.
Before
Good
Sam
point,
gets
Tosh.
started, I have another question.
All right, go ahead. Man.
Yes, I'm albino, Gabe. Gosh, get off it. Oh, man. Okay, for directing.
So wait, hold on. Did you guys watch the movie In the Dark?
I've never heard of that movie.
No. Gabe and Tosh. You guys watched Night of the Living Dead together, or
Are you trying to make like a glowing joke that we glowed in the dark?
Yes. I was going to say.
That totally ruined it.
Yes,
Good try,
you did.
though. We've heard it. Okay. all we did was cuddle a little bit. It's fine.
I was going to say, if you watched it in the dark, that would be impossible because you guys light up the room like a glowworm.
I totally saw that coming.
You know me too well, Tosh. You know me way too well.
You gotta be better than that.
Go ahead, sir.
Oh, are we sure?
Yes.
Okay.
Unless Gabe has another question.
No.
Do you get very good? Okay. Directing, once again, I give Night of the Living Dead credit. It had limited budget, and they pretty much had to get around things cheaply, and I thought they made it work for the most part. But my biggest problem wasn't with how the movie looked or like the effects or anything like that. My biggest problem is it was the pacing, and I just think the movie's so slow. I mean, and I'm not talking about how slow the zombies walk. I'm just talking about just the pace. It just takes forever to get there. And maybe that was cool back then, but for me, I was just like, let's get this thing going. Let's get some zombies killed already.
Right.
And I just. I don't know. And then Body Snatchers is kind of total opposite. It's like an 80-minute film, and the movie was fast-paced. It's covering a lot of ground. Locations were fast, and we're just flying through that. I mean, we're not wasting any time, and we're just go, 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 go. And for me, those have to be somewhat directing choices, and maybe they're more editing. I don't know. But to me, I'm going to go with Body Snatchers too. And side note, I love Escape from Alcatraz, which our director from Body Snatchers directed later, and so
he did,
I had,
didn't
yep, Don Siegel, and I love that movie, so I'm gonna go with Body Snatchers as well.
All right, thank you, Tosh.
Yep.
Sam.
Well, I agree with some of what has been said here. Body Snatchers has the luxury of being, of having a much larger budget, has sweeping sets, just some beautiful toys to play with in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. But for me, as a director, when I look at both of these films, I think that Invasion was directed very well in the tradition of the time. It was a well put together product. I thought that Night of the Living Dead really pushed the boundaries and help establish. It's one of the first independent films that showed you could do it outside of the Hollywood system, and yet it built so much more. And I think George Romero in this film, the pacing was kind of off at points in the middle, but once you pick up there at the end to the conclusion of Night of the Living Dead, once all hell starts breaking loose, you have explosions, you have all kinds of shootings, and it's very, I don't know, I love the style of it. I love the pacing toward the end. Yes, it does fall off a little bit in the middle, I feel, but one thing that I really liked about it is, some of the shots that in Night of the Living Dead, there was a couple, they use it 4 times, I think, 2 different characters, where on one side, the character is kind of looking out a window, and there's like a crack in the board, and then you reverse to the outside to see from that crack looking in at the character. And they show that shot 2 different times in the film, and I love it. You get on the reverse shot, you get a lot of the wood, so the character is really obscured, but you kind of get an idea of what may be looking in, even if there's nothing there. I love just the pure dread that Romero is able to build by the end of the film. Mm-hmm. In Body Snatchers, you're enjoying a story. You're comfortable. No matter how crazy the story gets, you're being told a story that person is probably going to live. And Night of the Living Dead, you're just caught off guard, and then you kind of become in the room with those people and listening to those television broadcasts, getting little snippets of information. And then when it gets to the point of the climax, everything's pouring in, all hell's breaking loose, and that it's a real feeling of dread for those characters that you haven't known for that long, but by that point in the movie, you're invested in them trying to escape, because if they escape, there's hope for that you could escape something like that. I'm going to have to give my vote for directing to Mr. George Romero and the wonderful film Night of the Living Dead.
All right. Thank you, Sam. Gabe, you're up.
Well, I admit that this is going to be a little bit harder decision. On one level, I think the directing is kind of like the acting, in that the directing in Invasion of the Body Snatchers just seems superior right off the bat. But then, if you think about these films in their historical context, you definitely do have to give Night of the Living Dead a lot more credit. And like I said, the first time I saw it, I'm not sure I really paid that much attention. I thought it was kind of campy and really not that good. And I'm like, wow, how did this become a cult classic? But now after having studied filmmaking and been a part of a number of film projects, I realize the accomplishment that was made there, especially in that time period. It's not so clear cut after you think about it in context. And if you think about, nowadays we were talking about, okay, why is it that people like to make zombie movies? What is it that draws them to that? And we were talking about how the rules were set up. And that's I think maybe that's one of the draws to making a zombie film, is that there's kind of clear-cut rules. You have some guidelines to start with. Now let's just create some interesting characters and maybe an interesting story within these guidelines. But if you think about that original Night of the Living Dead, I mean, there weren't a lot of guidelines there. Now, Tosh did bring up the fact that much of the story was kind of borrowed or built upon I Am Legend. But that being said, the whole zombie genre didn't exist really yet. So
it's true.
You have to give a lot of credit to the director and the writers for creating that. Creating how the zombies act and that whole classic, slow-moving, relentless walk of theirs, and how you can't kill them easily. They're already dead, and so there's a very specific way of killing them, and all these things that we kind of take for granted now in the zombie genre were all created then. So I give a lot of credit to the direction in this. Now, the one thing that I think the direction in Night of the Living Dead missed was some of the character development and some of some of the storytelling was there, but the character development wasn't necessarily there. And I think some of the editorial choices were maybe not that good. Like Tosh said, the pacing was fairly slow throughout, and you just kind of wanted things to kind of happen more. So I think those are some minuses for Night of the Living Dead. But I really thought that Invasion of the Body Snatchers was really concise, really well directed, a lot of good choices from top to bottom, choices of actors, writing choices, editing choices, lighting choices. That's one of the things I really enjoyed about both of these movies. We don't see a lot of black and white movies these days, but it was really fun to watch black and white movies because they do really interesting, dramatic things with the light,
Right.
things that you don't see that much in color films for whatever reason. And I thought there was a lot of that in Invasion of the Body Snatchers. There was, good use of special effects. It wasn't very effects heavy, but the use of them was good. I just felt like all the directing choices across the board were very good. So the respect that I give to Night of the Living Dead doesn't outweigh the talent that went into making Invasion of the Body Snatchers for me, and so Invasion gets my choice.
All right. Thanks, Gabe. Just real quick, Tom brought up something pretty interesting about filmmakers always doing a zombie film. And been a month or so ago, I watched something on Netflix, and it's still available. I just checked it. It's called Zombie Girl the Movie.
Good stuff.
Yes.
Really good movie.
It's about a 12-year-old girl that sets out to make a feature film, a zombie film, and I would check it out. It's actually very entertaining, and you get sucked into it. I mean, it's fun. It's a good time. So there you go. There's another answer for why does everyone make a zombie film? George A. Romero was the one operating the camera when S. William Heinzman, the cemetery zombie, attacks Barbara in her car by smashing the window with a rock. When Heinzman shattered the window, the rock barely missed Romero. And Don Siegel was very against the optimistic outcome of the movie, but the decision to give hope to the audience was forced upon him by the studio. Most people disliked the ending, agreeing with Siegel's original intention to end the film with Miles trying to warn people of the alien invaders in vain. So there you go. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think it should have ended on a down note?
I don't know. I think historically speaking, like I said, that was kind of coming on the tail of the whole film noir period in Hollywood, and I think a lot of those films were very dark, thematically and morally, and just kind of downers in the end. So I feel like maybe audiences were probably looking for something a little bit more upbeat after that. So I don't know. I don't know that it was a bad choice. I don't think. I personally wasn't disappointed with it.
Okay.
I don't think anybody goes to a zombie movie and then walk down like, oh, that ended on such a downer.
Right.
I think you go to a zombie movie with a certain set of expectations in terms of production value and the human spirit that's involved in it. So
yeah, what were you saying that the invasion, the ending of Invasion?
Yeah, I'm talking about the ending of Invasion of the Body Snatchers.
Oh, the ending of Invasion.
Yes.
Well, and
I just wanted to make sure I was on the right film.
Well, I think 1956 audiences they wanted a happy ending. I mean, as much as everyone would like to say it would be so much edgier if it wasn't, it would be a downer, and maybe in hindsight, but to me in 1956, there's no way that movie ends with despair, because in a way it's like the system still works.
Right.
Jimmy Stewart wouldn't stand for it.
Well, no, I wouldn't. I tell those FBI
Jesus.
they've got cards now. We need to go burn them, and we need to burn them now, Mr. Partner.
Oh, God, it kills me.
Wow.
It kills me. Absolutely. Every time. I had to turn my mic down. All right. Let's move on to overall. Tosh, you're first up, sir.
Excellent. I have some random thoughts on each movie I'd like to share, if that's all right.
No, go ahead.
All right. I'm going to start with Body Snatchers. Can't we say Becky might be the biggest tease ever? Miles is in love with her, but she will not give it up. Really, this movie's about Miles having blue balls. Let's be honest.
Oh, wow. Wow. Fantastic.
Do you guys remember the scene in Body Snatchers where we get to see the first like body, the clone that's on the table next to the bar? You guys remember that part?
Yep.
Did you think it was weird that they were having a drink over the body?
Yeah.
Like, oh, there's a body. Let's have a drink over it. That didn't make sense to me.
Right. This is creeping me out. I need a drink.
Well, in a way, that was their culture. It's like, you want a drink? This is pretty heavy. You better have a drink.
Right.
Yeah, let's drink right over the body. That sounds like a great idea.
I would totally drink over the body. Okay.
Yeah, let's use this dead body as a coaster.
You guys got a
would
drink
over that body. Give me a drink.
over my dead body.
Yeah. If he is, he doesn't need one. He's dead.
Did you guys also notice the gas was 26 cents a gallon?
I blame Obama.
Wait, what?
I said I blame Obama.
All right.
Way to bring it down.
I was being ironic. Hello.
Seriously, he was ironic. It was ironic.
Yeah,
Yeah,
Did you guys also notice when they were taking the pods out of the trunk and the pods bounced? Like they bounced.
Yeah, they did. That's true.
Aliens must have invented a way to grow rubber. I mean, if that's the case, we are screwed. I mean, they're going to take us over easily. And then, did you know when they made the call out for Miles and Becky to the police? And every police officer available in California, every single one was eating. It would have been a perfect time to rob something or a terrible time to get a donut. Let's see what else. And how do we know that we're all not really aliens already replaced? I mean, I feel and act like aliens every morning when I wake up until I get some caffeine in my system. So maybe all they just need was some coffee. I mean, we didn't really see them drink coffee, but that could have been the case. And last for this movie, but don't you feel bad that Miles never got laid? I mean, poor guy. Okay, for Night of the Living Dead, didn't at the beginning, didn't Barbara and his brother, or her brother, excuse me, look a little fresh with each other at the beginning while visiting the grave? I thought that was way creepier than actual zombies.
Yeah, at first I didn't realize they were brother and sister.
Right, me either. And I was like, then you find the brothers. I'm like, whoa, they were
You guys are sick.
They're
sick.
I don't have a problem.
Perverts.
And I think also there's another lesson that we need to learn from Night of the Living Dead. If you're a hero, you need to stay in the cellar at the very end. I think that's a good point.
Or at least 15 minutes. Just let them pass on the farm.
Right.
If there's a zombie invasion and they're coming to my house, I'm staying in the house. I'm staying in my basement for at least a day or two. I mean, when Ben said that line, "Now get the hell down in the cellar. You can be the boss down there, but I'll be the boss up here." That was so like foreshadowing right there. He was going to get killed. So, also,
I wondered about the guys. You know, like the posse that was going and hunting down the zombies. You know, had they seen other zombies wielding guns? Because he comes up out of the basement, you know, with his gun drawn and ready to shoot, and then they're like, "Take him out, shoot him in the head." Like, had they seen other zombies with guns? I don't know.
That's a good point.
He may not have seen the gun.
Yeah, he might not have seen the gun, just the shadow in the window kind of thing. But all the other guy had to be is like, "Hey, I'm alive! I'm alive!"
That's true.
Yeah.
Don't shoot.
Well, talking zombies. Let's shoot.
The zombies are talking now. Shoot faster.
Good shooting.
Kill them before they get the right to vote.
Oh, wow.
Wait, what? I'm sorry. Go on.
Never act like you're high or depressed around Ben. He'll knock you out. That's what we learned from that movie. If you saw the legs off a table and light it on fire, it will burn for at least an hour and a half. I had no idea.
Right. You know what? I want to know. I want to learn how to make a torch, because it seems like everybody else can make a torch and it burns forever. I don't. I guess maybe it's the right materials. Table legs. I haven't.
Yeah.
It was really flammable back then. I mean, really flammable.
Really flammable.
Yeah. All right, keep going, Tosh.
If you're a zombie, never put your hand through a window. It will not end well for you. I think when we saw that fake hand get cut off.
Those are cool. I like seeing those nubs. Like, that was cool.
I think I read
Zombie nubs.
Sam's a fan of the nubs.
Gabe,
Hey,
didn't we read that was like pudding or something in a?
It was chocolate syrup.
Clay. The hand was clay with chocolate
syrup.
syrup.
Right.
Brilliant.
And another thing, if you're going to turn into a zombie, and I might keep this as a mental note for myself, it's better to dress up before you turn into a zombie, because I would hate to see people. I hate people see me partially naked walk around like while I'm a zombie. Not a pretty thing.
So dress in layers during a zombie outbreak.
Because it's better to be in layers walking.
So.
Right. And can we agree when a barbarous brother came into House of Zombie that his makeup was an improvement over what he looked before? No? I thought he looked way better as a zombie than he did as an actor. And last thing, don't rip off I Am a Legend book. P.S. I hate the movie I Am Legend as well. I choose Body Snatchers.
Wow. All right. Thank you. Thank you, Tosh.
Random Thoughts by Tosh Dillon.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. Let's go to Sam.
I like that kind of free-for-all atmosphere we had with the Tosh response. Maybe we should have a free-for-all round sometime.
Yeah, there you go.
That's cool. All right, final notes for me. I enjoyed Invasion of the Body Snatchers. I love the scope of it. I love the big sets. I loved the great camera work. And I as well love watching black and white films. So this was a real treat watching two great movies, different kind of horror movies. I've been watching a lot of regular horror movies the last couple weeks, and it's actually been very refreshing to watch these films. And this is the first time I think I really got in depth into Night of the Living Dead, because I've seen it so many times. But this time I actually kind of broke the film down, and I wrote down different plot points, and there's some really interesting things going on in this film. It's not perfect, but I also like the idea that this was the first zombie film, but they weren't called zombies. They referred to them as ghouls.
Oh,
and
yeah.
In the script and the television, when they talk about the first, I don't know, it's just kind of chills when you first hear the TV officially announce that you got to shoot him in the head and kill the brain and you kill the ghoul. And it's like just the build, all those different things that the screenplay, this small budget production continues to intrigue us. Even dissecting it now so many years later and having seen the film so many times, I like a lot of different items I might not have picked up as much on in the past, as far as the cause of why they're coming back to life, the satellite. That went to Venus with a strange radiation. So in some ways, it's also commenting on our continued exploration, and maybe in some ways we'll bring about our own ending. But even though the movie ends on a down note with the main character dying, and with his temper, he may have died shortly after, even if he made it out alive. But society does go on. And at least for that moment, much like Invasion of the Body Snatchers, the system works in some ways. But Night of the Living Dead tells it in a much different way. And doing a lot of looking on IMDb the last couple of days, one comment I found really sums up how I feel about Night of the Living Dead and why it's going to get my vote. It's that Night of the Living Dead is simply one of the most effectively terrifying and completely captivating horror films ever made. It stands as a great example of imagination over budget and has influenced scores of horror pictures. That is so true. And overall, I have to give my vote to Night of the Living Dead.
All right.
That was beautiful. I started crying almost. Very emotional.
Quiet over there, Tosh Seinfeld. Gabe, you're up.
All right. Wow. Yeah. I mean, I don't know if there's a lot left to be said, but I'm with Sam in that both of these movies were very enjoyable to watch. And I think modern day filmmakers should maybe take a few more chances with black and white films. There have been a few modern examples of black and white films that have been very good. And I think modern audiences would actually enjoy it. it's really a different kind of filmmaking, strangely enough. And both of them were done pretty well. Both of them played with the light, and were both put together fairly well. Like I said before, I give a lot of credit to Night of the Living Dead for its originality and for the fact that the things that it had to overcome to even be made. It was a relatively small budget. Although I felt when I heard the budget was it was right around $100,000 as far as I know.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wow, that's quite a bit of money for that time. And I wondered where they got it and how they managed all that, and they put it all together, and it got distributed, and it did well, and it made money. It continues to make money, just unimaginable sums. When Tosh and I watched it, we found out that due to an error by the distributors, it's now in the public domain.
Yes.
So I mean, they could still be making tons and tons of money if it weren't for that kind of mistake. So I give them a lot of credit for making a very truly successful film. It was original. It was against convention, and it really spawned all kinds of other films. So I give it a lot of credit. And Invasion of the Body Snatchers, well, it spawned a few films itself, a few sequels, a few versions of it, and I think it's because it's such a. It's interesting to look at the differences in the types of horror, because Invasion of the Body Snatchers is more of a psychological kind of horror film. It's much less, slasher or violent kind of movie. It's very psychological in its horror, and I think that's why it has spawned a number of sequels. And it would be interesting to see if those sequels, if we took those sequels and compared them and looked at them in their own historical contexts, if they were also infused with social, political statements, and if they varied over time, if that idea of being taken over by some sort of foreign or alien being was applicable to different periods of history. And so it's very interesting. Body Snatchers is very interesting in that respect, in that it creates some kind of psychologically frightening situations. I really enjoyed these both. Actually, when we selected them, I wasn't sure that I would because of when they were made and that kind of thing, which is silly because there are a lot of great movies historically. But I enjoyed them both quite a bit, and I applaud all the filmmakers involved with those two. I think in the end, I'm with Tom in that Body Snatchers is a true classic, a well-made film, and I think I prefer that one. I would watch that one again, more than I would probably Night of the Living Dead. So I think my vote goes to Body Snatchers.
All right, thank you, Gabe. Tom, you're closing us out.
I had a note here about talk about the public domain for Night of the Living Dead, and just reading the weird history about not putting the date on the film, blah, 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 that led to it becoming in the public domain. And I think it's kind of sad that there are people out there taking copies of the movie and making it themselves and selling it. And the film really deserves a lot better than that. And because like right now, I'm stuck with, I really want to get Night of the Living Dead on Blu-ray, but where do I go? I got to read reviews and all that other crap. So I want to talk a little bit about the score for Night of the Living Dead. I'm really not familiar with the scores of the late 1960s, but there seemed to use a lot of woodwinds, a lot of oboes and clarinets. And when I hear those, I think, crazy Disney sidekick, not, ghoulies are coming. So I was waiting for some kind of, smart aleck rabbit to jump out and say something. But so I'm going to knock a couple of points for Night of the Living Dead. And and again, we're going to go back to, as we always do in the overall, which one am I going to be more likely to watch again? And I'm going to watch these both again equally. I love both of these movies. And as I said before, I was prepared to come in and give all my votes to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but Night of the Living Dead really just kind of knocked me out. I don't like horror movies. I think I've said that before on the show. But Night of the Living Dead might be one of my favorite horror movies, just because it's so well stripped down and completely caught me off guard this month. And it's really, really great, in spite of its absolutely ridiculous score. And Night of the Living Dead has it's. I'm very hesitant to call Night of the Living Dead a cult film anymore. I think it's actually risen above cult status, and I actually would consider it a classic film. Not in quality, but in terms of its impact on pop culture, on par with movies like Citizen Kane and Casablanca. And I can feel my film school teacher breathing down my neck. But it's such a great film, and there's so much to it, and it's so influential on everything that's been done. One note that I got lost in earlier, but I thought it was really funny that Invasion of the Body Snatchers, there's that line where he says, "Keep your eyes a little wide and blank and show no interest or excitement," which is really interesting because that's the exact, I have that on a Post-it note on my computer, and I say that to myself before we start every show.
Thanks.
But in the end,
I'm going to
Tom. I can't believe, seriously, 2 weeks ago, if I had known this, you told me this, I wouldn't believe you. But I'm going to give my overall vote to Night of the Living Dead for a lot of the same reasons that Sam said. There's so many great things to Invasion of the Body Snatchers, but just being completely overwhelming my expectations for this time around watching Night of the Living Dead. I know that I will watch that one again before Halloween even gets here. I'll watch that again in the next week or so, just so that I can just gobble it up in all its yummy zombie goodness. So, there.
All right. Thank you, sir. All right. Well, while I attempt to do math and I got to feed the monkey, so let's head on into your choices, your recommendations for this month. We'll just start back up at the top. We'll start with Sam.
All right. Well, I guess this month's pick was inspired by our movies in some way. I was thinking about sci-fi. I think Body Snatchers, I would say it's more sci-fi than horror. That's how I would categorize it. So that led me to kind of a modern retelling of Invasion of the Body Snatchers from 1998. It's directed by Robert Rodriguez. It's the movie The Faculty.
Oh, nice.
Starring Josh Hartnett, Elijah Wood, Usher, Jon Stewart has a hilarious part in there as a teacher. It's just good fun. And in some ways, after watching Body Snatchers, I can't wait to watch The Faculty again. Not just for Josh Hartnett, but that's a big reason for me. But Robert Rodriguez has a lot of fun with kind of a tongue-in-cheek script written by Kevin Williamson shortly after Scream and Scream 2. So it's just an example of putting a lot of really talented people together with a really fun script that doesn't take itself too seriously. You got some action, you got some good performances from some young actors, and it's just a lot of fun to watch. So go check out The Faculty.
Nice pick. I like that pick. Gabe.
Well, I actually have kind of a couple. One is the Bunnies version of Night of the Living Dead. It's the Stars Bunnies, and they do like 30-second versions of these movies. Nice. And I watched it just before we started our podcast tonight, and it was actually really funny. And they hit all the key points and all the key dialogue in 30 seconds, and it's really fun. And a number of the others are pretty fun too. But then I always like to try to stick in the kind of the genre that we're talking about, and I had a hard time coming up with a recommendation this month, but I'm going to recommend something that may be kind of obvious. The TV show The Walking Dead. And I hope I look back through there. I was like, I can't believe I didn't suggest this before, because it's a great series. And it's a really interesting take on the whole zombie genre, and they do great character building with it. It's more about the human characters than it is about the zombies, and how those human characters act when faced with that challenge. So if you haven't seen any of the TV show The Walking Dead, I would highly recommend it.
That's also a very good pick. I can't believe none of us have suggested that before.
Yeah, I went back and looked. I hope we hadn't. I didn't want to repeat myself.
Right.
But.
Okay, Tom.
As I said, I'm not a big fan of horror films, so I have a very limited, if I'm going to keep it in the genre, a limited pool to pull from. So I'm going to suggest that everybody go out and watch Psycho. You should go see Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho because it's really, really great. It's one of the best films of all time. It's deep. There's so much there to explore in the terms of, the theme of birds and prey, and it's fantastic. Just go watch Psycho. And if you haven't seen Psycho, then there's something seriously wrong with you, and
You're a psycho?
you need to seek help. Seriously, because not seeing Psycho turns you into the same glassy-eyed zombies that we've been speaking about for the last 90 minutes.
All right, thanks,
Psycho.
Tom. Psycho.
Hey, wait, before we go, no one brought up the nude zombie. I had never noticed there was a butt-ass naked zombie.
What? Wait,
Night of the
when?
Living Dead.
When?
Changing all
yeah.
my votes. Changing
You
all my
don't
votes.
remember
go
that?
back to her, you see her, you see her from the back, and it's just her bare ass. But it's like, I never noticed that before, and you see her in a couple different shots. So,
Oh yeah.
That's why I said you didn't wear clothes.
I know what I'm doing tonight.
Sleeping?
Sleeping. Yes, sleeping.
You've got to work tomorrow.
I do. All right, Tosh.
I'm not going to stick with the genre. I'm going to go outside.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, I'm a big documentary person. I love watching documentaries, and I someday hope to make a documentary about something, but that's a different discussion. But my pick is Jiro Dreams of Sushi. Jiro's Jiro. This is a documentary from 2011 about a 85-year-old man that makes the best sushi in the world, and he's from Japan and lives in Japan. He has this little sushi restaurant in the basement of this huge corporation building, tiny little place, and his sushi runs for around $400 American dollars for for about 15 pieces, and it's a 6-month waiting list to get in.
Holy.
The movie explores overfishing, rice, and what it takes to work for this guy because he's a hard ass through and through.
Uh-huh.
And it's on Netflix right now, and I really recommend it. I really enjoyed it. It is subtitled, but it's worth seeing. Jiro Dreams of Sushi.
Fantastic. I've checked that out.
Yep.
Well, my recommendation is I lose track of what I've recommended. I don't even know what I recommended last Halloween, last October. So I'm going to go with one of my favorite films, and I think I got it from my dad. He and I used to watch it a lot. The War of the Worlds, the original, the 1953 version. The sound effect of the death ray just gets me every time, and I love that noise. And quite honestly, it's in the same vein as Invasion of the Body Snatchers. Kind of older school, black and white, almost film noirish, maybe a little bit. But it stars Gene Barry and Ann Robinson, who actually make an appearance, if I remember correctly, in the Steven Spielberg remake of War of the Worlds. They're the parents at the end of the film. So check it out. You guys ready to find out who won this?
Yay.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I can't breathe in my pod, so I'm gonna break out of it.
So frothy.
Dish soapy.
Oh, God. All right. Here we go.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please? Your winner by decision is Invasion of the Body Snatcher!
Yeah, wow. That was actually kind of surprising. I thought it was going to be closer, but I say that every episode. So let's go on. And you know what? We'll start with Tosh. Tosh, where can people find you on the Webernets? Where can they follow you? Where can they find your address and maybe watch you sleep in your pod?
It's exciting. There'll be a webcam later. You can go to my website. Well, I don't have a website, but you can follow me on Twitter at tshed4041. That is T and a shed 4041. Or you can contact me via email dillingert@gmail.com.
All right. Sam. Uh-oh. We lost Sam.
Oh.
It's always the last place you left him.
Oh, boy. Oh, boy. Is he going to come back? Maybe the pod people got him.
Did he fall asleep?
Fall asleep.
Yeah. Oh, no.
He's going to come back.
Who hasn't fallen asleep yet?
I'm Sam. All right. Well, let's move on to Gabe.
Well, you can find me on Facebook, Gabriel Rowald on Facebook, or like Tosh said, you can get me on Gmail too. It's G Rowald. It basically spells grow old at gmail.com.
I never thought of that. That's awesome.
He is old, so it makes sense.
Yeah, I've grown old.
Tom.
Everybody can find me on Facebook and Vimeo. Just search for Tom Haggis.
All right.
Sam's back. I'm clear. Good.
No, Sam's not back.
not.
Sam's not back. Okay,
yeah.
I'm just going to stall for a little bit.
Keep stalling. Go.
Haggis is actually an old English phrase meaning shed in a field. I don't think he's coming back.
Do we still have the domain name dirtyhanger.com?
Dirtyhanger.com expired a couple days ago, actually,
Yes,
on the
did.
1 year anniversary of our Halloween show.
It did.
I was waiting for somebody to say something that I could put up real quick with our new hover address. And I like seeing those nubs.com was gone for a while. I'm pretty sure it's available. If it's not, not available, we don't want it.
Exactly. You know what kind of traffic we're going to get on that? Ooh.
All right, fine. I'll go in and so if people want to look for Cinesmack, they can go to iLikeSeeingThoseNubs.com. Pending.
That is fantastic. That is fantastic. All right, Sam has dropped off completely.
He's going to get Barbara.
He is. He's going to get Barbara.
Is Nubs 1B or 2?
I think Nubs is just 1B.
I think so.
Do.
Oh boy, they got him. Can't believe it. They got him.
I know. It's too late. We can't save him now. We just have to move on.
We will.
I'll shoot him in the head. It's fine.
Oh my.
He's a
I
zombie,
tried
man.
stabbing him in the heart with a what's that girl used? It was like a
Yeah, what was that?
what was that? It was like a trowel.
Yeah.
That hurt like a son.
Never a dirty hang around when you need one.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Hey, Sam, welcome back.
Hey, sorry about that.
No, that's no problem. Would you like to tell the folks at home where they can cyberstalk you at?
Yes, please cyberstalk me on Facebook. I love it. And write me some strange message like, please be my friend because Cinesmack is awesome. And how could I not friend you with a request like that?
Nice.
And make sure and like our Cinesmack page. We want to grow our numbers.
Yeah.
Let people know you're listening and what your favorite parts of the show are so that we can continue to grow our audience as we continue into 2013.
I agree. This is I just got this over the wire. Make sure you guys spread this around. This is for you and for our listeners. I like seeing those nubs.com is the brand new website for Cinesmack, taking the place of dirtyhanger.com.
It's an October tradition.
Yeah, October tradition. There you go. So post that all over Facebook. Tell them to go check out Cinesmack by going to iLikeSeeingThoseNubs.com. It's priceless. That is absolute. And as for me, follow me on Facebook. I'm not very interesting. Mike Keeler. And follow Southsider Studios on Facebook as well. We'd appreciate it. And you can keep up to date on all the films that not only am I working on, but all these gentlemen are working on, and some of the other podcasts that we offer. And, of course, we would appreciate it a lot, if you could leave us a review on iTunes or whatever podcasting service you use. You can contact us at cinesmack@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Facebook. Just search Cinesmack. For our November fight, join us as Dr. No takes on Skyfall. This one's going to be good. I think it's going to be really good. And we'll have another special guest judge. That is yet to be determined. We have a phone call in to Sean Connery, Daniel Craig, and Pierce Brosnan. Still haven't heard back from him yet. So for Gabe, Sam, Tom, Tosh, and myself, thanks for listening, and go catch a flick. Oh, what? Nothing, Sam?
I thought we were gonna get a "They're Coming to Get You," Barbara. Or
Give me a Jimmy Stewart says "They're coming to get you," Barbara.
Okay. Are you rolling still?
Yes.
Well, they're coming to get you, Barbara. they're coming for you.
Jimmy's drunk.
No,
Doctor?
too much soup. A little too much of that home cooking.
What do you want, the moon, Mary? Go fuck yourself.
Doctor.
They're coming to get you, Barbara.
This has been a test of the Southsider Studios podcast system. This was only a test. If this were a true lack of entertainment, your head would explode. Go to iTunes and subscribe to our feed. Just search Southsider Studios.